Tonight we light memorial candles to remember the 6 million Jews and millions of others murdered by the Nazis. We vow to never forget. On Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah, we remember those innocent lives taken from us and the heroism of those that shined in a time of total darkness. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were slaughtered. Among them was 29-year-old Dutch woman Etty Hillesum, murdered in Auschwitz. Her diary was later found, as well as her last writing, a postcard thrown from the train that was sending her to her death. She wrote this just 2 weeks before she boarded that train. She called it her Sunday morning prayer. Dear God, these are anxious times. Tonight, for the first time, I lay in the dark with burning eyes as scene after scene of human suffering passed before me. I shall promise you one thing, God, just one very small thing. I shall never burden my today with cares about my tomorrow, although that takes some practice. Each day is sufficient unto itself. I shall try to help you, God, to stop my strength ebbing away, though I cannot vouch for it in advance. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear to me, that you cannot help us, that we must help you to help ourselves. And that is all we can manage these days, and also all that really matters, that we safeguard that little piece of you, God, in ourselves, and perhaps in others as well. You cannot help us, but we must help you, and defend your dwelling place inside us to the last. Tonight, I light my candle in memory of Etty and the 6 million murdered in the Shoah. Among the concentration and death camps built by the Nazis, Mauthausen was set high on the hills near where Hitler grew up in Austria, known for its harsh labor conditions and horrible granite quarries. The 186 stairs of death were the nightmare of poorly fed and physically weakened prisoners who were required to carry blocks of granite up its stairs. For those who could not make it, they were executed on the spot or marched to execution with the music of the prisoner band playing in the background. In the carved-out tunnels of the hills, prisoners built weapons and assembled airplane pieces for the Germans. When they could, they attached the wrong parts together in hopes of sabotaging the aircraft. Among the prisoners at Mauthausen was famous Nazi hunter Simon Wiesenthal. In the spring of 1945, exactly 75 years ago, an American soldier was shot down, joining the ranks of camp prisoners. And there was a hope. They heard the Americans were coming. The prisoner musicians who played at the whim of the Nazis secretly learned the Star-Spangled Banner from this new American. Another group of prisoners disappeared in a workroom after scrounging the camp for materials for a secret project. With a coarse sheet from the SS laundry, they took red from a Nazi swastika emblazoned banner and bluish-gray fabric from the prisoners' own ragged jackets. They attached strips of red to the wrinkled cloth sheet, making stripes. They cut out stars from the blue cloth and stitched the edges to hold everything in place. They rolled up their work and hid it under the floorboard so the Nazis would not find it. Heinrich Himmler, the SS chief who designed the camp himself, came to the camp on May 4th, 1945, planning that the next day he would destroy the camp and all the prisoners by sealing them into a tunnel in the hill. Thankfully, that next morning, May 5th, 1945, just 2 weeks more than 75 years ago, a platoon of American soldiers from the 11th Armored Division liberated the camp. Thousands of starving men and women greeted the Americans shouting freedom in their native tongues. At that moment, the prisoner band played the Star-Spangled Banner, and the soldiers wept. The next day, the American commanding officer entered the camp and saluted the 1,800 survivors. At that moment, the secret project was revealed as a group of survivors unfurled an American flag made from SS banners, sheets, and prisoners' uniforms. The colonel took that flag, he kissed it, he ran it up the central and tallest flagpole at Mauthausen. The deadly Nazi concentration camp was marked by an American flag crafted by Holocaust survivors. There was one other special thing about this flag. There were 13 red and white stripes, but instead of 48 stars at the time, there were 56. The survivors had guessed at how many states there were in America and added an extra row, perhaps symbolizing the promise of a better life and freedom. The story of that flag, the prisoners, and the liberation of Mauthausen is told in the book, which I've opened up to show a picture of the real flag. The book is called The Flag with 56 Stars. In the words of Simon Wiesenthal, the extra stars on the flag took on a special meaning. One was the star of hope, one of justice, one of tolerance, one of friendship, one of brotherly love, and one of understanding. Tonight, on Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah, we light the yellow candle, vowing to never forget the 6 million Jewish lives taken in cruelty, tortured, and murdered. May we recall not only the terror of their lives, but also the splendor of their lives. And may we recall the heroism of those who fought against evil, those who brought light to our world in its darkest days. Amen.